Hi, hello, my name's Beth, I'm an avid reader and aspiring author, and today you can probably see that there's a massive gap on my bookshelf. That is because it's time for a book haul. This is a book haul of stuff that I got, some for my birthday back in November because I never showed them, some for Christmas, and quite a lot that I bought in the January sales because they were books I wanted and suddenly they weren't very expensive, so I bought them. So just before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more of my beautiful face. So let's get into this and talk about the 3 large piles of books that I've got sat next to me, one of which you can see. So let's start with this one. So the first book is Luster by Raven Lilani. I'm not sure how you say her last name, but this book was nominated for the Women's Short Prize for Fiction, I'm pretty sure. It's a very short book. It's about a woman just trying to survive, messing up in her dead-end admin job in her all-white office, is sleeping with all the wrong men and has failed at the only thing that has meant anything to her, painting. No one seems to care that she doesn't really know what she's doing with her life, beyond looking for her next hookup. Then she starts dating Eric, a white middle-aged archivist with a suburban family, including a wife who has a sort of agreed to an open marriage and an adopted black daughter who doesn't have a single person in her life who can show her how to do her hair. As if navigating the constantly shifting landscape of sexual and racial politics as a young black person wasn't already hard enough, with nowhere else left to go, Edie finds herself falling headfirst into Eric's home and family life. Sounds incredible. I love books about people just living their lives. Which sounds really stupid, but I really do. Like, exciting times, some people hate it, but I absolutely love it because it's just someone just living her life and just, you get a snippet of what she's doing in that period. Also, this book is very short, so this is gonna hopefully be like a one-day read for me. Fingers crossed. Because I need to get through some of these books. Because my TBR is just growing ever longer and I can't seem to be getting it down by very much. I can also see a book over there that I've forgotten for this pile, so I'm going to quickly go and grab it. And I'm back. Might as well talk about this book because it's now in my hand. Angels in America. I have been seeing the clips of Andrew Garfield in this play all over TikTok, all over my Facebook. The man is superhuman with how well he can act this play, and I just wanted to read it. I am a strange person who likes reading plays. I think that's because I used to be a drama student many moons ago now, it seems like, but I love to be able to like get into the nitty-gritty of a play and just like underline things. So Angels in America, this is about the AIDS crisis in America and one man's like end of life essentially, and everything that goes down before he dies. I'm pretty sure. I think he dies at the end. Not sure. So it's not really a spoiler because I don't even know myself. Next up we have The Cat in the City. This just sounds like such a lovely read, although I've just seen how small the font is, so that's going to not be a lovely part of the read. But the blurb reads, in Tokyo, one of the world's largest megacities, a stray cat is making her way through the back alleys. With each detour she brushes up against the seemingly disparate lives of city dwellers, connecting them in unexpected and at times magical ways. But the city is changing, and as it does, it pushes her to the margins where she chances upon a series of apparent strangers, from a homeless man squatting in an abandoned hotel, to a shut-in hermit afraid to leave his house, to a convenience store worker searching for love. As the cat circles through the sprawling metropolis, she draws these intersecting lives ever closer, enmeshing them forever. Sounds so good. Sounds so good. Magic cat is essentially what it seems like, but not magic in the way of like overly magic, just kind of fate and how a cat can bring people together. And this cover is absolutely beautiful and I cannot wait to read it. Next up we have a fantasy book that has been all over the internet, and this cover is just so beautiful, and that is Iron Widow. I picked this up because it had a polyamorous a like non-monogamous relationship in it, and like rather than it being like a love triangle of 3 people where it's always which man gets the girl kind of thing, it's actually like they all get with each other. So I shall read you the blurb of this one as well. Maybe I won't. Actually, no, I won't, because I know roughly what this is about. This is about, it's a sci-fi retelling of China's only female, are they empresses? In China. Don't really know much about that other than that, but it looks good, and that cover is just too beautiful, and I'm a sucker for judging a book by its cover. Talking of judging a book by its cover, Reprieve, the Waterstones exclusive edition with the blood splatters down the side. Oh my god, this looks so good, and I actually am really excited to read it. I say I hate horror. It turns out I don't hate horror. I just hate watching horror. I read Mexican Gothic last year, and it was one of the best books that I read. Turns out I actually quite like some stuff with horror in it. So I'm very excited for this. This is about 4 contestants who make their way into like a house, and it's basically an escape room, and I'm pretty sure there's murders that go down in it, and just the survival of the fittest, who's going to get out, what's going to happen. I'm trying to go into this one slightly blind, other than that what I know, just so that I can have all of the spook feelings. So hopefully I'll get to this soon, although probably a very October appropriate book as well, but I'm too excited to read it, so definitely not a summer read, that's for sure. I need a breath. Whew. Next up we have another Women's Prize for Fiction shortlisted book. Although last wasn't shortlisted, this one was. Transcendent Kingdom by Yagasas. I'm just butchering that, aren't I? I'm not even going to continue on with that. Goodness sake. This is the most talking I've done in a while because my partner's not home. So I shall read you the blurb of this because I don't think I can sum it up better than the blurb does. As a child, Gifty would ask her parents to tell her the story of the journey from Ghana to Alabama. Seeking escape in myths of heroism and romance. When her father and brother succumb to the hard reality of immigrant life in the American South, their family of 4 becomes 2. And the life Gifty dreamed of slips away. Years later, desperate to understand the addiction that destroyed her brother's life, she turns to science for answers. But when her mother comes to stay, Gifty soon learns that the roots of their tangled traumas reach further than she ever thought. Tracing her family's story through continents and generations will take her deep into the dark heart of modern America. Transcendent Kingdom is the soaring novel about a family ravaged by forces with both within and beyond their control. It is a story of love, loss and inheritance, and the myriad of ways we try to rebuild ourselves from the rubble of our collective pasts. I'm so excited to read this. It's about the American South. I studied the American South, so I know a lot about it. So anything that's then like got set in the American past, in the American South, and the complexities of it, I love. And that just sounds straight up my street, so can't wait for that. This is one I picked up from a charity shop. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. This book was massive a few years ago. It won the Costa Book Awards in 2017, so it was probably big in 2017. But it reads, Eleanor Oliphant leads a simple life. She wears the same clothes to work every day, eats the same meal deal for lunch every day, and buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend. Eleanor Oliphant is happy. Nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled existence, except sometimes everything. Again, I'm really into mysteries at the moment, and just this, like the what's gonna happen. Like, I know all books are like that, but like mysteries especially are like, what's gonna happen? Where is this leading? Why is it going there? I love it. I've just read People Like Her by Adele Lloyd, incredible. 5-star book. Loved it. Talking of mysteries and murders and all kinds of horrible things, Just My Luck by Adele Parks. This is about a group of friends who all go for the same lottery numbers, and then something happens and one person puts in either the same or different numbers. I'm not sure, I got a bit confused. And then they have an £18 million win, and their friends are determined to get their share of it through whatever means necessary. So again, I can't wait to see what those means are. And it's not a very long book, so. Next up, can we see a theme occurring here? Beth really likes mysteries at the moment. That is, can you hear me? This is, I'll just read you the blurb because the blurb's short. 1978. Pont, a small community in northern Pont. Either one. A small community in northern Italy and an unbearably hot summer like many others. Elia is a 16 living in an unremarkable life of a moderate unhappiness until the day the beautiful damaged Anna returns to Ponte and firmly propels Elia to the edge of adulthood. But then everything starts to unravel. Elia's father, Ettore, is let go from his job and loses himself in the darkest corners of his mind. A young boy is murdered and a girl climbs into a van and vanishes in the deep, dark woods. And this book is like 250 pages, so if they can pack all of that mystery into 250 pages, hopefully it's going to be good. We're going to continue this mystery theme. I didn't realise they were all in a pile with like mystery. A Sherlock Holmes book. This is Hounsley Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is again a charity shop find, but it was the Penguin English Library edition, and I love these editions mainly because they're floppy books, and that's all I care about in life. So I'll just read you the tiny blurb on the back, because by now I think most people know what this is about. Except I knew it was a Sherlock Holmes novel, but I didn't know what it's actually about. When Sir Charles Baskerville is found dead in the grounds of his country house, his face contorted with fear, Holmes is drawn into a mysterious case involving an ancient family curse, savage brutality, and a hellish spectral hound that roams the foggy moors. But is it really something unearthly that walks here? Walks there, even? Again, lovely short book that hopefully I will finally read and get through some of this never-ending TBR. Although, we're only 13 days into January and I've already read 5 books, so hopefully I can continue on at this speed and like really get through my TBR. Next up, we'll stick with classics this time. Wind in the Willows. This is the V&A cloth-bound edition. This was in Aldi when I went in there, and I love any cloth-bound editions. They are just so beautiful and so lovely. I've never read Wind in the Willows, I don't think. I may have read, you know, like when stories get like shortened for children and like so you get the basic idea of it. I may have read that as a child, but I can't remember. But this just sounds so whimsical and lovely, and I can't wait to read it. Next up is a book I have read. I've read this book. And oh my god, Heatwave by Victor Jestin. This book is 100 pages. And yet it packs so much in. I love this kind of book. Where so much happens. Like, you can see how much I've tabbed this. But I will just read you the blurb, because I don't think I can sum up this plot, because a lot happens. Leonard is an outsider, a 17-year-old uncomfortable in his own skin, who is forced to endure a family holiday in the south of France. Tired of awkwardly creeping out of beach parties after a couple of beers, he chooses to spend the final Friday night of the trip in bed. However, when he cannot sleep due to the sound of the wild carousing outside his tent, he gets up and goes for a walk. As he wanders among the dunes, he sees Oscar, one of the coolest kids, drunk in a playground, hanging by his neck from the rope of a swing. Frozen into inaction, Leonard watches Oscar struggle to breathe until his body comes loose and falls lifelessly to the ground. Unable to think straight, he buries Oscar in the sand and returns to the campsite where, oppressed by the ferocious heat and weight of what he did and did not do, he battles to keep a hold of his sanity. All while around him, holiday life, the fighting, the flirting, the swimming, the drinking continues as normal, oblivious to the tragedy that has unfolded. Told over the space of a long weekend, this intense and brilliant novel is the story of an adolescent struggling to fit in. Heatwave is a gripping psychological thriller that poses the existential question: is doing nothing sometimes the very worst thing you can do? Incredible, as you heard from me reading that blurb. Trigger warning, suicide. And I would say gore, but it's not really gory. But like, there's a lot going on and a lot of intense passages that get very deep. Next up is Songbirds. I read The Beekeeper of Aleppo this year and absolutely love it. I at the time I thought it was a really hard read, but having looked back on it, it was actually an incredible story with a lot of messages that really hit, not home, but it's something that I'd never really thought about before because it never really affected me, and that's one of the beauties of reading. But yes, Songbird. This is about Nisha. So, Nisha has crossed the ocean to give her child a future. By day, she cares for Petra's daughter. At night, she smothers her own little girl by the light of a phone. Nisha's lover, Yanis? Not sure how to pronounce that. Is a poacher hunting the tiny songbirds on their way to Africa each winter. His dreams of a new life and of marrying Nisha are shattered when she vanishes. No one cares about the disappearance of a domestic worker except Petra and Yanis. As they set out to search for her, they realise how little they know about Nisha. What they uncover will change them all. Set in her native Cyprus, Christy Leftery has created a powerful redemptive story of loss and of triumph, and of the triumph of human spirit, and of enduring love of a mother and her child. Christy Leftery, however you pronounce her last name, is an incredible writer. She really makes you feel for the characters. Like, she makes you feel what the character is feeling at the time, and I cannot wait to read. I can't wait to read any of these books, let's just go with that, but this one especially. But I see this as more of a summer read. I don't know why. I think it's just the yellows that's pushing me that way, even though it's probably going to be heartbreaking. We're one pile down and we're only 20 minutes in. I did think this was going to be long. I think I'm going to pause it and go and get a drink because, oh my goodness, I need to wet my whistle. I've had a drink, back, feeling good. Next up, 8 Perfect Hours. This just sounds like a lovely romance. When Noel and Sam's lives collide one snowy evening, they spend 8 perfect hours stuck side by side, believing that they'll never see each other again. But soon their lives become entangled in ways they never expected, and it's going to change everything. Again, this sounds a bit mysterious, because on the front it says, what if you fell in love and then he disappeared? I thought this was just a romance. I didn't realise there was mystery to this as well. Clearly, subconsciously, my brain was like, yes, mystery. This is what we want. Really looking forward to that. Talking about mystery and weird and wonderful things. Leave the world behind. Amanda and Clay are enjoying a taste of the good life when Ruth and GH, an older couple who claim to own the remote holiday home they are staying in, arrive seeking shelter. These strangers say that a power outage has swept the city, but with no phone service and the internet down, the facts are unknowable. What has happened back in New York? Is the holiday home a truly safe place for their families? And are they safe from one another? This sounds very much like someone's gonna die. Don't know from that very short blurb. I'm sure I'll find out because this is on my January TBR. So hopefully I'll find out soon. Next up, The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharp. On the back it says, my name is Rebecca, Samantha, Hayley, Katie, Ashley, Nora. To understand my story, you first have to know what about the girls who I've been. And that starts with my delightful con artist mother, because I didn't choose a life of deception, I was born into it. 5 years ago, I escaped and became Nora, who has a nice, normal life in a nice, normal neighbourhood. Until this morning when I found myself at gunpoint in the middle of a bank heist with my ex-boyfriend and my new girlfriend. Talk about awkward. The first thing I thought was, get down. The second thing I thought, we're all gonna die because I stopped to buy donuts on the way to the bank. And the third thing, I'm the only one who can get us out of here alive because the gunmen have no idea who I really am. That girl has been hiding for far too long. Sounds incredible. I want to know all of the women she has been, or the girls she's been, and how she's going to get out of this bank heist. Next up we have 2 books in a series. This is the... Okay, it's not a series, it's got a series name. It's just Perfectly Preventable Death and Precious Catastrophe. I bought this for my birthday with a gift card that I had. Not realising on the back, it literally says that it is a sequel. I looked at the back. My brain didn't register it was a sequel. So then I had to order the first part to be able to read the second part. And I'm not sure what these are actually about. I think they're slightly witchy, but it was these covers that drew me in. They are beautiful. I would read them, but read the blurbs, but we'll be here for a long time if I read the blurbs for every single book. Next up we have Lore. This is a Greek retelling. I'm not sure of who. I'll read you the first bit of this. In modern day New York, a murderous game is about to begin, the Aegon. Every 7 years, for 1 week only, Zeus punishes the gods and makes them mortal. Forced to walk the earth, they are savagely hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines, who are eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. So it's like it just sounds like a god version of the Hunger Games. Not that I've read the Hunger Games. Sounds interesting though. Next up we have John Mccarray's A Legacy of Spies. I love John le Carré's writing. I read The Night Manager back in 2020, I think. And I have all of the other Smiley books to read. And this is part of the Smiley saga. George Smiley. That's his name. George Smiley. So, looking forward to picking that up and reading that whole series. I think there's even more George Smiley books than the 4 I currently have. But I don't need to buy any more books at the moment. Next we have the opposite, or just opposite of always. The reason I was actually drawn to this was this cover. This was on a charity shop shelf, looking out at me like that. And I was like, yeah, I want to know what this book is about. And it says on the back, when Jack meets Kate at a party, he knows he's falling hard. It is almost happily ever after until 6 months later when Kate dies. And this love story should end there. But Kate's death sends Jack back in time to the moment they first met, giving him the chance to try and save her this time. When a choice he makes turns deadly for someone else, Jack has to work out what he's willing to do and let go to save the people he loves. It sounds right on my street. It sounds lovely, but also a bit of a disaster happens. Really looking forward to that. we're on to the final stack. Next up we have, I've really taken the dust jacket off of this so I can display it. This is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I can't read you the blurb of this because I don't have it. It's up with all of my other dust jackets. But I've had nothing but good things about it. I think it kind of, it's a fantasy and someone's invisible. I mean, that is in the title. Not really sure. I picked it up because I'd heard all the hype about it being a fantastic book. And I wanted to see if the hype was correct or if they were lying to me. Next up we have the city of... My brain just completely blacked out then. The City of Lost Fortunes. This is set in a post-Katrina New Orleans. It's a place haunted by its history and by the hurricane's destruction. Street magician Jude Dubuisson is likewise burdened by his past and by the storm because he has a secret, the magical ability to find lost things, a gift passed down to him by his father he has never known. Jude has been lying low since the storm, which caused so many things to be lost that it played havoc with his magic. But his retirement ends abruptly when the fortune god of New Orleans is murdered and Jude is drawn back into the world he tried to desperately leave. A world full of magic, monsters and miracles. A world where he must find out who is responsible for the fortune god's death, uncover the plot that threatens the city's soul, and discover what his talent has always been trying to show him, what it means to be his father's son. This sounds like magical realism and set kind of in our world but also not in our world, and I love that. It turns out I'm reading more and more of these types of fantasies. This says it's a Crescent City novel. I don't know if there's any other books out. I don't think there is. I think this is the first of the series. Next up we only have 2 series left to go, and that is the Graceling, or I could just drop them all. The Graceling series, so Graceling, Fire, Bitter Blue and Winterkeep. I wanted to read more fantasy series this year, and what drew me into these was the covers because they are absolutely beautiful. I'm excited to read these because obviously I want to read more fantasy series. And the final one is the present that I got from my nan, and that is the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I don't know much about this series other than I know it's fantasy, and I believe straddles our world and the magical world, which just sounds fantastic. So those last 2 I didn't give you a lot of detail on because I don't know a lot of detail about them other than that they're fantasy series. But I do genuinely quite often like to go into a book not knowing much so that I can let it fully surprise me. If there's any books here that you've read, let me know what you think of them. Also, if there's any books or series here that you want me to do a review on throughout this year, because I'm sure I will get through all of these books this year, then just drop me a comment saying I'd love for you to review this one, or yeah, I don't know where I was going with that sentence. If there's something you want me to review, let me know and I'll do that. Because Lord knows I've got nothing better to be doing with my time. Other than writing, because I've started writing another book. And I've got to get like another 5,000 words written by the 17th of January to get it submitted into the Women's Prize for Fiction Discoveries competition. So I've got like 4 days to do that, so I should probably go and do that now. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!